Okay, let's dive right in. Imagine two figures who couldn't be bigger in America right now. Both wielding immense power, both shaping conversations. And for a time, well, they seemed like they were kind of on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
We're talking, of course, about Donald Trump and Elon Musk,
Mm-hmm.
once seen as maybe allies, or at least, transactional friends. Now they're locked in this remarkably public, often pretty bitter feud.
It's quite the turnaround.
Totally. So today we're taking a deep dive into the source material we have. Specifically, there's this detailed analysis unpacking the rivalry to really get at what's underneath the surface.
Right, because it's easy to just say clash of egos.
Exactly. And look, there's definitely some of that, no doubt. But our mission here is to go a bit deeper. We want to explore the ideological and strategic divergence that seems to be driving them apart.
And maybe even the geopolitical significance.
Yes, exactly that too. Because, look, this isn't just celebrity drama or, political gossip. It feels more like a fundamental struggle playing out.
Between a former president aiming for a comeback.
And the world's wealthiest person who's, like, fundamentally altering global industries. It's big stuff.
It really is. And what's fascinating here, looking at the material, is how that dynamic shifted over time. If you go back, say, 2016 to 2020, the analysis highlights this phase of mutual flirtation.
Right.
Musk was definitely involved early on. The sources mention he served on Trump's business advisory councils.
Yeah, I remember that. But even then, there were signs of tension, weren't there? The analysis points out he specifically left those councils. It was in protest, right?
That's right. When Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement.
That feels like a pretty significant early crack in the relationship.
Absolutely. So yeah, not a perfect alignment ever. But despite that major disagreement on climate, the material we looked at suggests Musk still supported a lot of the Trump-era stuff.
Like deregulation, tax policies.
Exactly. Deregulation efforts, the tax policy. So there was some common ground, maybe on, economic or business principles, even if not on the environment.
Okay, so fast forward a bit to around 2022, 2023. That's when the signs of real, maybe more personal friction became way more visible.
Oh, yeah.
We started seeing public criticisms flying back and forth. Musk wasn't exactly quiet about his thoughts on Trump pushing his own platform, Truth Social.
No, he wasn't. And what the analysis quotes him saying is pretty direct. Something like, he suggested Trump should sail into the sunset.
Wow. Okay. That's a strong signal, right?
Right.
That the relationship had seriously soured.
Definitely not pulling punches there.
And of course, Trump isn't exactly known for letting remarks like that just slide. We learned that during rally, he hit back pretty hard.
Yeah, the source mentions he called Musk another bullshit artist.
Right. And that specific comment, it really seemed to solidify the personal rift, the one we see so clearly now.
Which brings up a key question, I think. Beyond the personal jabs, what's the fundamental conflict here, especially in the political landscape?
Good question. And the analysis we have points to Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter, now X, as a major turning point.
Totally. That changed the game.
Musk's stated intention, according to the material anyway, was to transform X into the global town square.
And crucially, part of that involved reinstating accounts that had been banned previously, including Donald Trump's.
Okay, but here's where that competitive tension the analysis talks about really kicks in. Trump chose not to return to X.
Right. He decided to stick primarily with Truth Social.
And boom, that immediately creates this direct sense of rivalry. The analysis we read lays it out pretty clearly.
How so?
Well, from Trump's perspective, X is suddenly a direct threat to the unique importance, the exclusivity of Truth Social. It dilutes his platform's value.
Makes sense. And for Musk's side?
Well, the analysis suggests he sees Trump as maybe a destabilizing figure, someone whose unpredictability could actually undermine X's attempts to rebrand itself, to become this stable global platform he envisions.
So they're kind of working against each other's goals now, even if unintentionally sometimes.
Which leads to the deeper issue here, as identified by the analysis, which is this battle over who controls the conservative base.
Precisely. The material suggests both men, though using very different means, are trying to reshape the American right, basically in their own image.
So you've got Trump, the populist, the nationalist icon, kind of looking to restore a particular version of the past, maybe?
Yeah, that's how the analysis frames it. And then you have Musk, who the analysis characterizes more as the techno-libertarian futurist.
Right, focused on technology, innovation, future possibilities, Mars, AI, all that.
Exactly. And their core objectives, they just aren't aligned anymore. And while, sure, there's probably an overlap in their
Big
audiences,
overlap, maybe.
possibly, but the analysis suggests those audiences are actually starting to diverge in their fundamental values and priorities. It's not monolithic.
That's interesting. And thinking about the sheer scale of these two figures, I mean, this isn't just about social media platforms or political factions, is it?
No, not at all.
It feels more like a clash of competing empires, empires of business and influence. Just look at the scale of Musk's influence through the analysis details.
It's kind of staggering when you list it out. He controls SpaceX, vital for U.S. space capabilities, defense interests. Huge.
Then there's Tesla,
Yeah.
central to America's whole EV transition.
Right. And then Neuralink, Starlink, both with pretty significant national security implications, potentially.
And of course, X. Controlling X gives him what the analysis calls a dominant global communications tool. It's a massive megaphone.
It really is. But then you look at Trump's sphere of influence. The analysis describes it as, dominating Magier politics.
Deep roots in red state America.
Evangelical communities.
Yeah, and using that political capital to shape the entire Republican agenda.
Yeah.
Influence candidates up and down the ballot. It's a different kind of power structure.
And what's really insightful from the analysis is how Musk is increasingly seen, perhaps, as a soft power rival to Trump.
What does that mean exactly, soft power? Well, he has this ability to influence public opinion, shape narratives, direct vast amounts of capital,
Yeah.
all without ever holding political office.
Okay. He doesn't need to run for president to have a massive impact.
Exactly. He operates outside the traditional campaigning structure. And that dynamic, the analysis notes, seems to genuinely unsettle Trump.
Why?
Because for Trump, the analysis suggests loyalty and visibility within that traditional political structure are kind of the main currencies of power. Musk's influence works differently, outside the system Trump mastered.
Okay. That makes sense. And it leads us right into the ideological chasm between them, doesn't it?
Totally. The analysis paints a really clear picture here, two fundamentally different visions.
We have Musk championing things like AI, renewable energy, interplanetary colonization. It's all very future-focused, future of humanity type stuff.
Right. While Trump, the analysis points out, emphasizes fossil fuels, a strong nationalist stance, America first, which the material characterizes as leaning more towards restoring a specific past, maybe even a mythic past.
Yeah, future versus past. It's a stark contrast. And this ideological rift, the analysis argues, has only gotten wider.
Especially as the global conversation shifted, right, from pandemic recovery towards, well, big geopolitical shifts, technological realignments.
Exactly. Their core ideas about where the world is and where it should be heading just seem fundamentally incompatible now.
And the period after the 2024 elections seems to have really turned up the heat on this tension.
How so?
Well, the analysis explains that Trump, is still actively seeking either a return to the presidency or at least huge influence over the next Republican administration.
Right.
Now sees Musk's increasingly political activity on X and his influence, especially with younger conservatives, as a direct threat.
Okay. Musk is playing in his sandbox now, politically speaking.
Kind of. And during this time, the analysis points out Musk has been criticizing both Democrats and Republicans.
He has, yeah. And openly clashing with some pretty prominent influencers who are allied with Trump.
He's publicly emphasized this stance of, neutrality and championing open discourse.
Although the analysis does mention that some accuse him of veiled bias, but it presents that as part of the debate around him.
Right. So the deeper conflict here, highlighted by the material, seems to be Musk positioning himself as this kind of global kingmaker.
Wielding significant influence on a massive scale.
But doing it entirely outside the traditional structures of political office.
Yeah.
He's not running for anything.
And Trump, who, as the analysis suggests, views politics largely as a test of loyalty.
Yeah, he expects people in his sphere to align with him.
Pretty much. So he naturally interprets this independent approach from Musk, and especially Musk's criticisms, as a form of betrayal.
It's personal and strategic. Okay, but this isn't just a domestic spat playing out between two powerful Americans, is it?
No, the analysis really emphasizes the bigger picture, the geopolitical, the global implications of their rivalry.
Because in a way, they represent these two fundamentally different visions for America's role in the world.
Yeah, you have Trump favoring a strong, independent U.S., very skeptical of existing international alliances, global institutions.
Sort of an America first, inward-looking approach.
Maybe. And then you have Musk, who seems to envision a more globally integrated economy driven by innovation technology. maybe a less bordered kind of enterprise.
It's like their clash reflects this broader question the analysis poses. How will America lead on the world stage moving forward?
Will it be through dominance, focusing on national self-interest, maybe looking back to a perceived golden age?
Or will it be through innovation, disruption, trying to shape the future?
It's a fundamental question, and this battle, it's not just contained within U.S. borders.
Now, the analysis points out it has these international ripple effects. Think about global tech regulations.
Defense partnerships, facilitated by things like Starlink and SpaceX.
The whole energy transition debate. Tesla versus fossil fuel interests.
Yeah, and competing models for free speech, information dissemination.
Yeah.
You know, X versus traditional media globally. It touches everything.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, drawing from the material, what we're really watching is way more than just, back and forth tweets or public insult.
Definitely. The analysis we reviewed characterizes it as this profound philosophical, economic, and political clash.
It's like a battle being waged between two men who both fundamentally believe they're defining and shaping the future direction of the United States.
One attempting to do it through ballots and traditional political power structures.
And the other attempting to do it through bandwidth and technological control, shaping the narrative, shaping the tools.
The analysis seems pretty clear. The honeymoon, whatever it was, is definitively over between them.
Yeah, no kidding. And the potential implications moving forward are just vast.
I mean, the analysis suggests this could redefine the entire trajectory of the right-wing movement in America.
Could significantly influence future elections, maybe even beyond the immediate cycle, like looking towards 2028.
And fundamentally reshape that global intersection of technology and politics for years, maybe decades to come.
So when you really think about everything we've unpacked today from the sources, this rivalry, it's not just about two powerful men disagreeing, is it?
No, it really reflects and maybe even amplifies these fundamental questions about how power even operates in the modern world.
Right, the nature of influence in a digital age, the role technology plays in shaping society, and the very future direction of America, both at home and, globally.
These are dynamics that touch everything from free speech debates you see online to international relations, things that ultimately affect you.
So here's something to think about, maybe mull over. Given everything we've explored about their competing methods and visions,
Trump relying on established political structures that focus on the past,
versus Musk leveraging technological control, aiming for a specific future, which approach do you think is ultimately more powerful in the long run?
yeah, think about that core ballots versus bandwidth dynamic we discussed. Which one shapes the future more? It's a tough question.